Hey guys, Deanna here with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Support for Label Free Podcast is brought to you by Impression Derma, who has experienced increased exposure to HEV light over the last year and a half. I know I have. If you don't know what HEV light is, let me educate you. HEV light is emitted from your phone, tablet, and computer that penetrates deep into the skin, which can lead to wrinkles and increased harm, leaving permanent damage. I have found a solution that protects you from those harmful lights. Let me introduce you to Impression Derma Let's Face It. This product will increase collagen, promote hydration, improve elasticity, halt premature aging, and shield against those free radicals, all by using these key ingredients: algae, buriti oil, bamboo extract, raspberry seed oil, bloom light, plus many others that are sustainably sourced and produced as well as ethically traded. Please head to impressionderma.com and use code LABELFREE20 for 20% off. Again, please head to impressionderma.com and use code LABELFREE20 for 20% off. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kemp with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I have a very big treat for you today. We have a special guest joining us from London. She is the Omnipreneurial Psychologist, corporate wellness and life leadership mentor, a keynote speaker, facilitator, and author, and also human capital strategist and philanthropist. Please welcome Hema Vyas. Hema, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background?
Hi, Deanna. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me along. Traditionally I trained in psychology, but of course, over the years, I've morphed into myself, but even before, when I was studying psychology, a lot of what I was being taught didn't quite sit right with me because I come from a very spiritual background. Ayurveda, my mum's sort of heritage is Ayurveda. So that was in my blood, and growing up with that sort of spiritual and psychological take, allowed me to become more of who I really am, which is, all those different things that you just outlined.
Yeah, that's quite the list. I mean, and I'm sure there's more that you could add to it. And that's why, I created Label Free Podcast, is because I don't want anyone to put me in a box and tell me that I can't accomplish X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. You know what I mean? And so I love it when people are able to tap into their personal power and rise above. Like you said, you're traditionally taught in psychology, but you've become so much more than that. Can you tell us a little bit about that evolution and how you got to being all these incredible things?
Yeah, so I'm very much like you, which is why, your podcast resonated with me so deeply. I don't believe in labels because it puts a stereotype and unfortunately limits you, because people then limit how they see you, which then limits how you respond. And so I hate introducing myself because it's like I'm not one thing. I'm so many things, as we all are. We're not defined by what we do. We're not defined even by who we are, because we are so much more than that. And I think my journey started when I discovered psychology. And it was a paradox of being interested in criminal psychology, but also, really being interested in the trauma that people held that they couldn't speak of. But I was such an empath and an intuitive that I could feel, what was going on for people, even if they didn't say it. And so there was this kind of, two-pronged sort of, interest in psychology. And I realized when I was studying that none of psychology really addressed the things I was really interested in, which is, who is that person and what is it that shapes them to become who they are?
Yeah.
And what is it that motivates us to change who we are? So it's been a lifelong journey, really wanting to understand myself and, can I change? How can I change? How can I impact change in the world? And so that's why Omnipreneurial Psychologist, because it's a label that doesn't exist until, I've sort of put it on myself. So that's what I love.
I love that. So I've always been interested in psychology myself. I took maybe a class or two in college, but I've always read about it. And just because I think it's really interesting to understand how the human mind works. But when you can use that that intuition to really help someone and talk to them and kind of it's a very powerful talent, I would say. I don't have
Yes.
all the schooling and all that as far as the psychologist is concerned, but when if you can tap into your intuition and you have a general idea on how the human mind works and why people kind of react to things a little bit differently than others, it really puts you in a better position to help them and to
Absolutely.
understand them a little bit better, because you have to understand the framework first before you can really start diving into that spiritual side of them, which they might not even know about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And often people don't know about it, and that was the sort of driving force. It was beyond the mind.
Yeah,
For me, it was really like there was so much studies, and all my sort of studies was driving towards the brain and the mind, and, how the brain mind works. And we now know, of course, that the mind exists in every cell of our body, but also the heart. It's like, well, when I was studying, I was like, but hold on a minute, where's the heart? Where is the heart in all of this? And how does that fit in? And many, many years ago, about 30 years ago, I remember people sort of saying, oh no, no, you mustn't talk about the heart. That's all emotions, and that's, no when it comes to business. And but I was adamant, and that's why I was like, no, I really want to understand the role of the heart, the purpose of the heart, because intuitively I knew that the heart was so much more, and that was the real psychology I was interested in. That where do we hold our emotions, where do we hold our feelings, where do we hold memories, not just our own, but memories of our ancestors and things that are held in our DNA. It all stems and originates from the heart. And so that's why we're so complex as human
yeah,
beings. And that's why labels don't really work, because they limit the individuality and the uniqueness of the person, because we are made up of so many different factors and so many different aspects of ourselves and qualities that make us uniquely who we are. And I think that's the beauty of being human.
agreed. Oh my goodness. You started talking to me about some of the stuff. I'm almost like feeling like I'm gonna cry, but like a good tears. Can you talk to us about Ayurveda? Did I say that right?
You did,
So
yeah.
what exactly does that mean? I'm not that familiar with it. I have a general idea, but just can you tell us so the audience maybe understands what that means?
Absolutely. So Ayurveda is one of the oldest kind of philosophies, if you like, around medicine, and it's really the science of life. And it has so much depth that even if you studied a lifetime, you might not get to the end of it. It's really, really about every aspect of our being, and it's our physical makeup, our physiological makeup, our emotional makeup, our energetic makeup, our spiritual makeup. So basically, it's based on the premise that each person is made up of the elements, but to the extent with which we have the different elements, which is earth, water, fire, air, and ether,
Right.
the extent to which we're made up is what drives us in terms of how we respond to the world. And so there are some basic things, what's known as doshas. So there are three doshas, which is vata, pitta, and kapha, which is earth, fire, and air. And Ayurveda is a system whereby we use our dosha to understand our makeup, to understand how we might respond in the world, what might be out of balance, how to bring it back into balance, simply by using what nature gave us. So simply by using food, using things like meditation, yoga, breathing, our breath, and really helping us to heal ourselves, to have wellness, and to, understand our psychology, if you like. It's a whole spiritual system
Yeah.
as well as a physical system, and it's just incredible.
So did you start using Ayurveda when you became a psychologist, or did you incorporate that later on?
So much later on.
Yeah.
So, as a psychologist, I sort of worked for a while in occupational psychology and then moved into sort of therapy. But it was only years later when, I had a situation with my father and just wanting him to get well. And so all the Western doctors sort of gave up on him. And so that's when my intuition kicked in. I was like, no, even though I've grown up with it, it wasn't something we used here, certainly not years ago. Now it's become more mainstream in the West, but sort of 20, 30 years ago, it just wasn't. And so, we took my dad to India, and within 6 weeks, having been told that, it was unlikely that he would walk, he was walking and running and fit as a fiddle and fitter and younger than I'd seen him in the last 10 years prior to that.
That's amazing. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that had
and
to be very exciting.
that was so amazing. And so although I'd already started practicing things like meditation and yoga, I really, really understood the importance of food as medicine,
Oh gosh.
and the importance of massage and meditation and yoga to clear and cleanse a lot of the emotional debris. When we look at psychology and psychoanalysis, the talking is important, but actually it's the combination of all of the different things come together
Yeah.
that really, really is so, so powerful. And that's when I started running the retreats, because I couldn't do it all in one place, so it was a great way to get away and do it from somewhere else.
Yeah. And so I read that what's the name of your retreats again?
Well, they have different names, but I
Okay.
think the last one was Heart Renaissance Path to Prosperity.
Oh, nice. And so how often do you do those?
So every year, except this year because of the pandemic, but
Yeah.
every year. So I do some in Europe, and I also do one every year in India. And so this
Okay.
is the first year that we haven't, but there's still time. So I'm
Yes.
hoping, yeah, that I will be able to do some more soon.
Amazing. So you were in 2019, you were the keynote speaker at the Conscious Living and Working Conference in Dublin. And then you also led a Heart Wisdom workshop series at London Soho House. And you gave talks on the Conduit and Design Center at Chelsea Harbor. So you go around and you talk quite a bit about what you do in your practice and how to help people.
Absolutely. I talk a lot about the energy of the heart and the importance of understanding the heart and the importance of a heart renaissance. And so, what I mean by that is coming back to the wisdom, the feminine qualities, and the feminine energy being balanced with the masculine. Because a lot of people think of the heart as being feminine, which is why in the workplace it was like a no no, we
Yeah.
can't talk about the heart or heart qualities or love or anything like that. But what I realized while I was researching is that no, the heart is neutral. The brain, the cerebral brain, can be considered masculine because of the logic, but we also have the gut brain, which is the more intuitive and more instinctive part of us. And both independently are not enough. And
Yeah.
when you bring the two together in the heart space and you bring balance into yourself through the heart space, then you find that beautiful blend of the masculine and feminine, because we all have masculine and feminine
Yes.
qualities. And to really understand the qualities of the heart is what I really talk about, because we need it in the world. We need the heart center to be the center in the world. We need a renaissance. We need to come back to the wisdom of the heart to really understand it and to start living from that space, because it's a really powerful tool. When we are centered in our hearts, things begin to flow more easily. One of the things about Ayurveda is that we are made up of energy and information. And the only thing that creates disease, or the only thing that creates a stuckness in our life, or to prosperity or to love, is when something happens and it gets trapped, so we're not flowing. When
Right.
energy gets stuck, it becomes toxic. And so the heart space is what will mirror back into our lives what we need to see and experience in order to heal. And when we heal and really release stuff that doesn't serve us anymore, energy begins to flow and the stuckness disappears. And that's when we experience real prosperity. That's when we experience real love.
What is good, everyone? Deanna here with Label Free Podcast. Autumn is in the air, the pumpkins are in the patch, and our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure your man doesn't carve his pants pumpkins when he's grooming, if you know what I mean. Make sure he's keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th edition performance package. Ladies, do we really want to cuddle up with a dude who isn't trimmed? I know I don't. My man's keeping it tight. Get him to take the leap into fall with Manscaped. Help him join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code labelfree20. Again, go to manscaped.com and use the code labelfree20 for 20% off and free shipping. Oh my goodness, I love it. I've taken a lot. So I do a lot of yoga. I don't meditate as much as I should. When I work out, I tend to I get into a meditative state. But it's taken me a lot of years to overcome a lot of past trauma, past abuse, just a lot of
Mhm,
different things that I've gone through. But that was a conscious choice.
mhm.
I had to decide what kind of person I wanted to be and like how I wanted to live my life. And so when you're working with someone, do they finally come to a point like hey, I need to make a change. I need to open my heart up, and they would come to someone like you?
So normally, like people would come to me in two ways. So one is the sort of more corporate side, but if they were to come individually or to come on the retreats, as an individual, I would say usually they get to a point where they know life isn't working. They don't know why. They don't know what to do to fix it. They might have read a lot of books, or they might have done lots of different work. Usually, people have come to me, they've seen people, they've done things, so they've made a
Yeah,
conscious choice to really work on themselves. But they get to a point where they think, now where?
yeah.
And then when they come to me, that's when we start sort of really delving into, like, I talked about earlier, the spiritual aspect, because spirit is part of us and we cannot compartmentalize and separate. We have to bring everything together and work in unison to really come back to wholeness.
Oh my goodness,
And so
beautiful.
thank you. So that's where I really encourage people. It's like it is a lifelong journey. You've been on this journey. There's no place for us to get to. However, we can keep on growing and keep allowing life to be beautiful and to be inspired and to be prosperous, because as human beings, that's our birthright.
My gosh, I love it. I'm getting goosebumps.
No.
Before we start wrapping things up here, I do see that you have some questions that I'm gonna pick one and ask you. I mean, we've kind of gone over some of it, but how do we align heart, mind, and body intelligence?
And by recognizing that they are, different types of intelligence, and they're all equally valuable, because a lot of people will value one over another, usually one that they're better at.
Sure.
But when we understand that all three need to be, balanced, then that's a starting point. But I think, tools like really, really clearing the debris, all the things that stop us from knowing, that is an organic thing. If you see children, they are very much in their hearts, they are very much in their heads, and they're very much in their gut. They know when they're hungry, they don't have to be told, despite what parents might think sometimes. They know how to love, they know who to trust. There's an instinct, and there's an ability to learn, an ability to have all aspects of themselves aligned. What happens is, as we grow up, we become more and more conscious, and we become aware of what's expected of us,
Yeah.
and that stops us being who we really are. And I think it's a journey to undo all of that learning, to undo, the, well, what does your teacher think and what does your friends say? And
Right.
you have to, that's what's in fashion, whether you like it or not, that's what you have to wear because everybody's wearing it. So, that's why I said, your podcast is so in line with what I feel. It's about coming back to our authentic self. And I know lots of people talk about it, but the way we align the heart, the mind, and the emotional, the gut sort of intelligence, the body intelligence, I would say it comes from really being able to find our unique path. And it might be meditation, yoga, massage, eating, consciousness, raising our vibration, raising our consciousness, becoming more in tune with who we are. Because one of the things of Ayurveda is that we're all unique,
Yes.
and therefore there is no one size fits all. And the idea that we should all be homogenized is one of our failings in society. And we need to step out of that space and start finding out who we really are. Because the heart, mind, body align organically, we get in our way and we stop
For
it.
sure.
by being too conscious of other people and society and culture.
I would 100% agree. I personally, like, I probably am completely the opposite. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Like, judge me all you want, because at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is myself. Mine's the only one that matters. You did so about getting to the balance, and I know we're reaching our time here. I think that finding that balance is a lifelong journey, a lifelong battle. Because some days, you might be thrown off one of your you might be thrown off in your heart, having maybe someone upset you, or you had a fight with your significant other, or, something happened at work. And it's all about learning to come back to that balanced state where it doesn't overcome your life and overcome your whole day, or, because I have bad days, but I decide I deal with it. I let it come through me, I'll release whatever it is that I got to release. And then I just come back to my peaceful place where I'm happy and just want to be, I want to be in that balanced state, because that's where I feel my best. So
absolutely, that's when energy can flow, and therefore you're able to be more present in the moment.
Yes.
So I agree. I think getting into balance, we're always flowing, and and so to really stay in balance is not possible. So we're always going to be a little this way or a little this way. And so it's a journey to keep coming back to balance, coming back to center.
I have one more question for you. It's not on here. Maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. How does one vibrate higher?
Well, we raise our consciousness by becoming more self-aware and also becoming more empathic. Because when we not only see the world through our own eyes, but without trying to be like anybody, becoming more conscious of what they might be going through, who they might be. Each person has a story to tell, and we raise our vibration by understanding, on the one hand, we're all connected and we're all one, but at the same time, we all have our own unique story, which is what makes us unique. And so when we start stepping into our own shoes with power and with confidence, and we're able to step into someone's shoes without taking on their stuff, but just really recognizing and appreciating it, we raise our consciousness, we start vibrating high.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Emma, beautiful. I could talk to you forever. I mean, I'm very much on the same wavelength as you are with a lot of this stuff. Can you please let the audience know where they can find you? And I will definitely put those links in the show notes, but why don't you plug them really quick?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to be here. So hemavyas.com, that's the easiest way, because everything is on my website, all the different things that I do. But I also have a community, which is Heart Renaissance. It's free. Of course, I run lots of courses, and all the information about all the different talks and all the different meditations and things that I do. So you can go into that portal and find all the information. I'm going to be running an online and offline event called Love Supreme. So if anybody's interested in really, really connecting to that beautiful Love Supreme, I'd love for you to join me. So through my website or through my community, Heart Renaissance.
Love it. And any last words of wisdom or advice for the audience before we say goodbye?
I think that the greatest gift we can give humanity is to heal ourselves and to keep on working on being the better part of ourselves, because it's a never-ending journey. And so I welcome everyone to be willing to do that.
Yes, girl. Yes. I love it. Beautiful. On that note, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being a guest. You're welcome to come back anytime. I'd love to talk more about this and dive deeper in and just give more gifts to our audience that can help. Anybody will benefit. Anyone will benefit. So you guys definitely tap into all that beautiful energy that you have inside of you. Heal, 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 and love others. Okay, that's the advice I'm going to leave for today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Deanna.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Kemple of Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.